But between 1968 and 1991, the ABC produced 370 episodes of A Big Country, with programs that travelled the length and breadth of Australia. This series revisits some of these stories. In a Brisbane suburban cemetery, a ceremony is about to begin. A ceremony celebrating the life of Nguyen Duc Huynh. Father, uncle, grandfather, his importance to every one of these people forms the bond that brings them together on this date every year, the anniversary of his death. They come to pay their respects to a man who 25 years ago led many in this family away from their home in war-ravaged Vietnam. As bombs fell on Saigon, the Huynh family gathered what they could and fled, escaping to Vung Tau, a province by the sea. It took them 16 days to buy an old wooden boat for the equivalent of 13,000 American dollars. The first day at sea, the motor broke down and they were captured by a North Vietnamese water patrol. They were imprisoned. One of the brothers was executed. The family was detained for 30 days before escaping and again setting sail for freedom in their heavily overcrowded boat. With 39 people on board, there wasn't even enough room for them all to lie down. Armed only with a toy compass, they managed to survive huge storms and navigate their way to Malaysia. They were some of the first Vietnamese refugees to be given asylum in Australia and spent their initial months in a hostel, having little contact with the people outside the fences. 25 years on, and those fences now surround the family's suburban homes. John Duc Nguyen was 26 when he arrived in Australia. He spent those first months in the migrant hostel learning English. His brother Ban also grappled to master the language of the country that had given them refuge. Today, things are very different. They live in relative comfort after years of hard work in factories, corner stores, running small businesses. They have raised and educated their children. Now, for the first time in 25 years, Ban feels he can revisit the place that shaped his family's future life in Australia.
How would you like to be given a house, 1,000 hectares of land, and not contribute a cent? How would you like to walk in with nothing and farm Australia? At Lakeland in the far north of Queensland, 28 refugees have been given this chance. His name is Cyril Anderson, who today runs a multi-million-dollar transport company.
It was 1978 when A Big Country first followed the refugees to Lakeland. They were a people without land. Cyril Anderson had plenty of land and few people to work it. So even as the family was shown evidence of the area's difficult history, their partnership with this man seemed to hold great hope for the future.
With the Vietnamese, he thinks it's possible to farm successfully in the far north, to succeed where others before him have failed. He's taken on Lakeland, one of the biggest properties in the north.
This is the story of one man's challenge and how that challenge is being met.
10 years ago, a mining millionaire, Clive Foister, bought this fertile, undeveloped country and began the biggest farming experiment in the north. Unfortunately for those living on Lakeland, Clive Foister failed. He saw Lakeland as supplying food for the markets of Asia, but a combination of bad seasons and crop diseases ruined him. Part of Foyster's hopes washed down the Laura River when this extravagant dam project burst, releasing water from the biggest dam on Lakeland. Just as the dam had run out of water, so had Foyster run out of money. He was forced to sell. And Cyril Anderson was the only man willing to pick up someone else's dream.
Việt Nam không đòi thương máu, Việt Nam kêu gọi thương nhau, Việt Nam đi xây đắp niềm vui dài lâu.
Peanuts have never been grown so far north in Australia before, and at Lakeland they're being heralded as the wonder crop. There's a world demand for peanuts, so they command a high price. And so the Vietnamese had hoped to harvest a crop worth $250,000. It wasn't to be charity, but a business-type agreement. Everything the Vietnamese received, they had to pay back.
We flew in a party representing 3 different groups. 2 of the groups turned it down, but one group, this family group of roughly 6 families, and they've come up here and they have worked very hard to achieve what has been done.
Cyril Anderson's share farming dream is no more. After his death in the early 80s, the remaining land was divided into smaller properties and sold off, some of it becoming the township of Lakeland. Today it serves as a fuel stop for travellers on the road to Cape York, and the hotel still provides welcome respite from the dust and heat for locals and tourists alike. For Bun and John, Lakeland Downs was home for 1 year, a year that began with high expectations but ended disastrously, leaving them with memories that only now, 25 years on, they can put behind them.
You think a lot of change around here?
Yeah, a lot. It's all different now.
Yeah.
You go around.
At last, we come back here 25 years after we left.
Yeah. I never done any job like that before, but I was young, strong body, strong mind too. So we're ready to work hard and very hard, 7 days a week. Any condition, weather.
I was young then. I got a lot of energy, and we like to do something for our life in this country. And when that opportunity came up, I felt very happy to take it. We woke up about 6 o'clock in the morning. We went to the workshop and we asked the manager of the company what to do that day. And after that, we headed to the lands and worked until very late in the evening.
Cyril Anderson had returned to his business interests in Brisbane, and the family was left to try and establish a sense of belonging in a landscape as foreign to them as the plantations of Vietnam would be to the residents of Lakeland. The company was slow to give them direction, and Bun and John can recall the support they desperately needed was a long time coming.
Nobody told us what to do for a month, and one day the manager told us just go get the tractor and start clearing the land, and that's the routine every day, see. the land's the most important to us. And we saw that's the good soil, one of the best soil. The weather, the situation make me happy to work on the land.
Man, you see that's it's very good soil. The texture of the soil is good, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's very good for
Yeah.
peanuts.
Yeah. Actually, we didn't have a proper plan. We didn't sit with the company to have a proper plan what to do in the next 12 months or the next 5 years. When we come up here, we decided to accept this country as our home. We used to live in the hardship in the past. The isolation didn't matter to me much at all. But to some members of the family, like my wife, she was homesick. She was the only member of her family in Australia. So the isolation of Lakeland Downs did affect her a lot.
Very isolated, but we're happy because we can see the good future for ourselves. Yeah.
When we came up here, we were placed into the housing commission houses. They supply fridge, they supply washing machines, almost everything. And we are very happy with that accommodation. Remember on the bananas, our father wrote them before.
That's right. He
Yeah.
brought them here, and now they are bigger than before.
Today, those banana trees their father planted in the backyards of Lakeland form the basis of a healthy plantation just up the road. The fruit is sold to boutique markets on the coast and, ironically, to Vietnamese grocers as far away as Melbourne.
Và đem theo trăng sao đến với lời thơ núi. Ngày đó có anh mơ lại mộng.
Mr. J.C. Anderson brought us up here by his own aeroplane. So we flew in the Cessna from Brisbane to here. We stayed with him in his own house for a week. And he flew back to Brisbane. And sometime he come to work, but not with us because we are share farming. So we do it ourselves. He do somewhere else. He never tell us what to do. Or he never explain to us what to do.
This Mr. J.C. Anderson's place.
I remember we stayed here for 1 week with
Yeah.
Mr. J.C.
Yeah.
J.C. Anderson, your wife cooking, good cook.
Yeah.
She's good cook.
Yeah, he loves
Yeah.
eating.
Yeah, so-
Yeah.
What sort of people are they?
They are absolutely clean in every way for cleanliness. You couldn't wish for anything better. They live with me in the home there. They did the cooking. They did everything there, and you couldn't get anybody cleaner, right? Nor a better type. They're equivalent to, in my opinion, over and above the average Australian.
Few Australians would ever consider coming to such a remote area. For Mr. Hung, the choice was simple. It was either stay in a refugee camp on a government handout, work in a factory, or take a chance in the far north.
When we left our country for freedom, when I got that freedom, I can accept easily everything here. So Lakeland House was to me a good place to live. Yeah.
These people had found contentment here on Lakeland after months of struggle and hardship, escaping from their homeland. In the few months that they'd been in Australia, they'd overcome the language difficulties, adapted to new customs, and learnt a whole new way of life. They'd also managed to fill their business agreement with Cyril Anderson. They'd cleared the ground, planted and cultivated with care, and the soil on Lakeland, so similar to that of Vietnam, produced a magnificent crop. The experiment appeared successful beyond anyone's wildest dreams. That is, until the country revealed itself to be as harsh and as brutal to the land's new tenants as it had been to those trying to farm there in the past.
We were really happy to see the peanuts grown up so well. So when the crop fell, we very disappointed.
Even the experts from the Department of Primary Industry were taken by surprise.
I think it all boils down to inexperience, and that's not just on the Vietnamese side, it's on everybody's side. They had a beautiful crop, and then just coming through underneath that ground cover, these little weeds, and then when they hit the light, away they go, and I mean they really grow. I've never seen that before.
Even the spray, couldn't control it at all. They told us how to cut the grass, how to kill the grass. Didn't work.
To get at their crop, they slashed down the weeds, but not being experienced in the growing of peanuts, they didn't know the correct way to go about it. In this paddock, they slashed so low that they stripped the leaves right off the tops of the peanut plants.
Once the leaf goes off, and the first thing to let go are these pegs. And so when you go to pull out a plant and you haven't got a firm attachment there, I'm afraid you just leave that nut in the ground. And the crop that had the potential of, say, a tonne, in some parts more, to the acre, I'm afraid that, well, they got practically nothing.
We had too much hope in the future to see. Now it's gone, completely gone.
But this is not a complete failure, right? I anticipate that there will be sufficient revenue, right, to be able to pay the whole general expenses. I'm going to be extremely disappointed if this is not so.
But how about cash in hand? Have they got anything to carry them on till next year?
Well, the cash in hand, I think that the company will have no alternative to turn around and continue with what they have been doing. In other words, subsidising their living expenses for the next year's crop.
When the crop fell, the company didn't say much at all. They just say, that's it. We don't have any money. Didn't say a thing. Not a thing.
Like the peanuts, the family's hopes were now damaged beyond repair. In their place, seeds of doubt about their acceptance by the local community began to grow. They saw other farmers' paddocks just over the road completely unaffected by the weed problem. John and his father believed that there were more sinister forces behind the failure of their crop.
The peanut crops, when they grow up very beautifully, and suddenly some weed growing up among them and destroy the crop. My father and I knew that somebody tried to damage the crops by throwing the cattle feed seed among our crops to destroy our crops, you see. But we didn't hear anything from the company. I think they knew that too, that somehow they tried to cover up that thing. Whoever did that have destroyed our hope and damage Mr. Anderson's efforts and investments.
Now, on your crop last month, how much money did you think you'd get?
I think about 20,000.
And from what you've seen now, what do you expect to get?
Nothing. The same thing may happen again and again if we stay back here. If that things happen again, just waste our time. So we decide to leave Lakeland Downs. Even we love this place very much, we try to settle down here. But Australia is a lucky country and a big country. I think we can try our luck elsewhere. That's why we moved back to Brisbane.
So, almost overnight, the family left Lakeland Downs. The disappointment of the crop failure and the suspicion of sabotage had soured their Lakeland experience. A feeling of not belonging, of being different, had manifested itself. If Australia was now their home, Vietnam would always remain their country.
I left Vietnam when I was 24, 25 years old, so I knew quite a bit about my own country, but I miss a lot. Australia is a good country, but I never felt that I can suit into society properly. You see many other foreigners or refugees, they always stick together. We speak English, we spend Australian dollars with Australian food, but there's still something in my or whatever is there. It's still different, yeah. It doesn't mean we are racist or Australian racist, but it's like that. When you feel tired, you want to sit down and rest. And I don't feel comfortable to sit next to other people. I rather sit by myself. There's a gap or the distance between two races. That's it really hurt, yeah.
The first time I went back to Vietnam was 25 years after I arrived in Australia. But it didn't improve a lot at all. I'd rather to live in Australia than back home. My son was born here in Lakeland Downs. He's now 25, 26. He's a real Aussie man now, and he's very happy. I'm happy that he was born here in Australia. The future of my children would be brighter. Our culture, the father is the head of the family, and you know that the family means many generations. So his say is very important to us, and he's got like a supreme power. When he decided to leave our country, he sacrificed his life for our sake, for our freedom and our future. And I would like to remember his will and to pass that will to our next generation. You got to sacrifice your life for your children.
I'm really happy when my children growing up in here. Most of their friends are Australian. But I still want them to keep whatever we think is good for the Vietnamese culture. They speak English out anywhere else, but at home must be Vietnamese. They safe here, they have good education. The government looking after them well, especially education, make them to be better person in the society, in the country, I'm sure. Not even thinking, but I'm sure they will have a good future here. My future for myself, no more life. So I just try to do whatever I can do for the family, so I can keep my eyes on the children, keep them do the right thing. So we work hard to make money to pay tax. Yeah? Never try to break the law. That's good enough. Yeah.
I try my best. I'm not very successful as I hope, but I did try. I did try very hard. That's what I think it's important to me. I don't ask much for our future. The future is my children's future. If they're happy, I'm happy.